And welcome back. Well, September is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month.
The local organization Life is Hope wants to raise awareness and offer support to reduce the number of suicide attempts and deaths in our community. And joining us now are Deeatra, Kajfosz, and Vicky Kloety. They are both suicide attempt survivors. And wonderful that both of you are open about that fact, because we're going to, on the bottom of our screen, scroll some of the information that you gave us, which are the risk factors as well as the behaviors as it relates to suicide, so that people are more familiar with them. And I think they're important for people to know. Talk a little bit about why you're open about the fact that you attempted suicide, because that's obviously one of the behaviors or risk factors that's a sure indication that someone might complete the act.
For 13 and a half years, I did not talk about my attempt. And then last year in June, I lost a dear friend of mine and found myself really lost at the idea of how is it that I've missed the opportunity to make a difference. And I think at that point, I became a little bit more aware of the fact that I didn't really even fully understand how it is that I came to that point of considering that suicide was a viable option. The last year, a little bit more than a year, I've had an opportunity to do a lot of research, connect with people, and begin the process of breaking the silence. And I think that the more that I've done that, the more I've become amazed at the reception. In fact, I expected that in the business community, which I was a very strong part of, that if anybody had ever known, that would certainly harm my career. And what I have found is quite the opposite, that there are far more people that understand, that empathize, that have experienced the same helplessness, hopelessness that I was going through at that time. And I think that once we begin to talk about it, hope and healing can begin to occur.
You're right. I think you hit on a very important point, is that there's so much stigma around any sort of mental illness or suicide attempts or things like that, that oftentimes can go hand in hand.
I agree.
So important that you both are so open about it and that you do so much good towards it. For you, Vicky, why was it important to be involved in raising awareness?
Well, I think the importance comes in for helping people to understand and see the different risk factors and the different behaviors. You know, it can be anything. It can be the loss of a loved one. It can be the loss of a job. It can be alcohol related, drug related. Some of the behaviors you can see that are, you know, that you might think of as being, oh, just somebody having a bad day, somebody going through a bout of depression that lasts too long, that you don't realize it's lasted too long. It can be subtle things that people just don't realize, or people just kind of blow off. And I think sometimes people tend to overlook things. And I think we need to bring more awareness so people pay closer attention. Not everything may always be a cry for help or saying, oh, this is going to be a suicide, but I think we need to look at it as this could possibly be, and we can't brush things under the carpet anymore. We need to know that it is happening.
And I wondered too about your loved ones, the people closest to you who knew about your attempt. Could you see how much your death would have affected them?
You know, at the time, and I think that I'm not unlike many others that have gone down this path. At the time, the idea of being such a great burden to those that you do love, and that really the psych ache, similar to if we have a stomach ache, there's a psychological ache that's existing, that the difference between reality and fantasy can be very blurred for an individual in that mindset. And so helping our community understand the risk factors, the behaviors, the intervention options will help then to bring that hope and healing. But what it does then is it helps the community understand what they can do, and that this isn't something that isn't happening, it's just something we're not talking about, and that we don't have the right tools and resources. My family and friends, I can't imagine having missed out on the last 14 and a half years. I just truly cannot imagine that. I'm so thankful I don't have to, but what worries me more is that there are individuals out there right now while we're having this conversation that don't know that there's an upside to this adversity. And their family, their friends, their loved ones, the loss that they will feel will remain. And there's something we can do about it.
And one of the things that people can do is learn more about the nonprofit. It's Life of Hope. What do you do specifically for people? Is it for the person who is experiencing these feelings, or is it for the family as well?
You know, it's actually for both and beyond. So our initiatives are designed, number one, to raise awareness. If we better understand a topic, we then can better approach a solution. And so we have QPR training, question, persuade, refer, that individuals can go through similar to CPR to become certified in a successful intervention of an individual that is believed to be suicidal. We have different initiatives beyond just the awareness that we exist and that there is help that can happen. We then have our education initiatives, and those are dedicated to the QPR, to understanding how to do an intervention. It's not enough to know that suicide is preventable or know the risk factors and the behaviors. You then have to understand how to apply that new knowledge. Working with our school districts to bring that awareness to our youth so that as they grow, they have learned the healthy coping skills. They're prepared to address some of the challenges that they're going to face that they can't even imagine today. And then finally make sure that we have the support services for the friends, the family, the individual who is facing that suicide ideation or had a recent attempt. It is an entire community issue.
And quickly, too, because I think this is a myth, and I've heard it especially in young people, because you mentioned education in schools. If people talk about suicide, whether they threaten or just say they're feeling kind of hopeless, to think then that they won't do it, because, you know, there's that adage, like, if they talk about it, they'll never actually do it.
You're not really going to do that.
Yeah, you're just trying to get attention.
Right. I think it's important to say that can be a very big red flag. Is that correct?
It is. Huge. So there are a couple of different ways that somebody might actually try to verbalize that they are really in a desperate state of mind and saying, you know, you guys would just be better off if I wasn't here, or, you know, I might as well just be gone. Those are calls out for help. The individual who attempts to end their life does not want to die. We have an internal desire to live. But when the mind is really just not in a stable place, we still, in many cases, are trying. 70% of individuals who attempt to end their life actually verbalized that desire. We need to be aware. And for those who don't verbalize it, we need to be aware of the risk factors and the behaviors so that perhaps we can identify it even when it's not being said.
Yeah. So listen. And I think especially if you have someone in your family that you feel may have had any of those risk factors or behaviors that you saw scrolling on the bottom of your screen, you can contact Life of Hope. You also have this run walk. It's going on Sunday, September 13th in West Bend. You can learn more about it or pass this on or read more at lifeofhopeproject.org. That's where you can get help and learn more as well for the Butterfly Run. Yeah, and the risk factors and behaviors that we had on the bottom of the screen, those are also on our website, themorningblend.com, so you can check them out. Your website. I'm sorry. The website that Tiffany read.
Lifeofhopeproject.org. And please come out and join us for the Run Walk. I promise you this is going to be an event that you will not soon forget. It is going to be amazing. That's and we're going to save lives. Thank you, ladies. Good work, you guys. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.